What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley, and that's the one, the only. It is Scott Savage. Scott, how are you, buddy?
Oh, not so bad at all. We're getting a little bit of spring weather here locally, and it has me wanting a vacation, really.
Yeah, I could use a vacation.
New Caledonia, I think.
Dude, there's no time for vacation. Games don't stop, man. This is what we do. We talk every day, all day about video games. Normally noon is when we're live, though. You can join us live over on Twitch and YouTube at the official ITG. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later inside the game.ca podcast services and TV streaming networks around the globe. Scott, today's show is an interesting one. It got to the top because Kojima's back at it once again. Kojima keeps giving us details behind his beloved franchise, Metal Gear Solid. But what's that mean for the future? That's the biggest question I'm starting to kind of question on what's going on here. And yeah, we'll get into that discussion here right off the hop. But The Last of Us Part 2 could be here sooner than we thought, thanks to HBO. And Battlefield veteran opens up a new studio. Scott, we got a good show, dude. Let's get going. As Kojima says, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes was initially an experiment for a series of episodic games. Chris Scullion over at VGC had this to say. And he gets this from Hideo Kojima's Twitter account, because I saw Kojima this morning all over it again. Dude,
yeah, I noticed that as well.
You did too? Okay, so it's not just me. Dude, it's out there. And I'm like, yo, what do you keep implementing here? Because we know how much Kojima loves to play these little mind games on all of us. And I'm just, at this point, we are so hungry for some kind of Metal Gear, even though we're not going to get it, because we know Death Stranding 2 is in development, and obviously Metal Gear's rights are still with Konami, so there's,
still in the midst of that messy breakup.
Yeah, but either way, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes was at one point intended to be the first episode of a larger episodic series, creator Hideo Kojima has revealed. Speaking on Twitter to mark the game's 9th anniversary, Kojima explained that Ground Zeroes was intended to be a prologue for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Dude, which I have still not finished, by the way. But that it was also an experiment that could have potentially led to an episodic series. I would have been so down for that. I loved Ground Zeroes. I thought Ground Zeroes, I was like, yo, I'm into this. I was so heavily invested into Ground Zeroes. When I got into Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, dude, it just missed the mark for me a little bit. It wasn't quite how I know. This is one of my struggles as to why I haven't finished it, I guess. I don't know. This is one of those things. It's the only one in the franchise, even though it's tattooed on my arm. Dude, it is the only one I've never finished. And I love the Metal Gear franchise as a whole. But 5 is just, it was such a departure.
If I can beat 4 before you beat 5, I think I should get Raiden.
That's fair. That's fair. Ground Zeroes was originally planned as a prologue for Metal Gear Solid 5, Kojima wrote, saying the game was an important introduction to Root Snake's vengeance in the main story, and the theme of Metal Gear Solid 5 is retribution. Since PS4 was launched at the end of 2013, the game was pre-released with the PS4 Fox engine, an open world to introduce the new Metal Gear Solid, and also to provide feedback to the main game in mind, he explained. Kojima then revealed that he intended to release Ground Zeroes as start of an ongoing project. The development of a full game takes 4 to 5 years. Times change during production, he explained, so I thought of offering an episodic format, like a streamed drama, where one episode is produced and distributed. Ground Zeroes was meant to be an experiment. The Japanese version of Kojima's Twitter thread goes into more detail, stating that the plan was to produce one episode and distribute it, then distribute episode 2 and 3 while getting feedback. However, he concluded, many people seem to expect Ground Zeroes to be a full game after its release, and they did not understand it. I have a feeling it was too early. Scott, we also know now that he's heavily invested in working on Death Stranding 2, some kind of form of a film, I'm sure at this point, as well as some kind of deal with Xbox, and who knows what he's cooking up right now with PlayStation. So
yeah, hopefully a lot in the oven right now, because anything that comes from the mind of Hideo is usually just a slam out of the park. I remember the explanation of Ground Zeroes a little bit. It was I'm surprised to find it was that long ago now, but I do
Mhm.
remember back then some of that explanation because I was one of the few met with, okay, wait, I'm supposed to replay this again and
Yep.
again and
Yep.
again. But now I understand as the explanation came to light, okay, you're supposed to attack it different ways. Each way you can learn more of the story. You're supposed to spend a lot more time chewing on it that way.
It almost had that Hitman feel, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you have your target and then you go back and then you take out your target, but then you go back again with a new set of gear, more or less, and then kind of approach it from a different angle to take out your target once again. Dude, I
Do you
played.
remember
Go ahead.
do you remember listening to the radio little
Yep.
things, the cassettes they would leave for you
Loved
in
it,
Ground
man.
Zeroes? It was so good.
Ah,
Yeah, when you find out where the kids actually held and oh man, that game was so good.
and it was only like an introduction to what we were going to get in Metal Gear Solid 5. And then it all ties in because I was talking to Brad a while ago, Northern Nerdcast, who often joins us here. And he's like, do I need to play Ground Zeroes first? And I was like, no. Like, yep, nope, you need to play Ground Zeroes first because that sets up what's going to happen in 5, right? And what your whole story plot is and your mission kind of coincides after Ground Zeroes. And man, it was so good. And I remember wrapping it up and going, I'm starving for something else. Like, where's the rest? I want the rest of the game now. And I think the biggest shock that came out of Ground Zeroes was that we found out that the voice of Snake had changed.
Yeah.
Right? Kiefer Sutherland was now the new version of Snake, which hurt if you're a longtime fan of the series, as David Hayter's always voiced Snake for us and has been that kind of that staple, that go-to raspy voice. And to kind of get into Kiefer's little take on it, dude, it just kind of changed the formula a little bit. I did get used to it by the time it ended up, and then I got into 5. But at the same time, David Hayter, shout out, man. Like, one of the easily the best Metal Gear. I don't.
Oh,
it was just
you could.
iconic.
It was a great performance after him, and how do you follow that up? So yeah, looking back now, it did okay, but it was just nobody can beat David Hayter for me.
Well, when the first voice actor is so ingrained with you, right? It's like, okay, you now have played Nathan Drake for 4.5 games. We'll just take Nolan North out of the mix and we'll put in somebody else. You're not going to have that same effect, right? You're not going to have that same impact if you've been following from day 1 with Uncharted to going all the way into 4, and then DLC with Lost Legacy, even though that kind of spun off in a whole other direction. It's still one of those things. If you change out that voice actor for Nathan Drake, Nolan North is just Nathan Drake, and you can't change that out. Tom Holland does it in the movies, but that's not, like, even that was weird.
Oh, you're making me think of how can we get Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher with the same voice?
No.
Michael Ironside is totally out of it, I think.
Yeah. So then this leads me to my next question then, Scott. What is the future of Metal Gear?
Yeah.
Right?
Is there going to be a new original in the future, or are we left to remakes now?
Do you think? I think we're left to remakes. In my opinion, I think it's a matter of remaking everything from the ground up. They have the source material. Let's build off of that and continue forward. By the time they've done that, built that up, right? Because they have 5 games to work with. I think you honestly, at this point, you can remaster, rework Metal Gear Solid 5 because it is so old in a sense, right? You can almost take it as that The Last of Us Part 1 effect, and then bring it into next gen or current gen, whatever you want to call it at this point, and do that with Metal Gear Solid 5 because it is that old at this point. I think you have the ability to do that. You continue to do this and grow this fan base now. Get them in there with a love of Metal Gear. Konami can then build off of this and then move forward once 5 is wrapped up into whatever their new vision may be. When they tried it with Survive, it was a disaster. It just didn't work at all. It was a flop. So you have to somehow keep that Kojima feel. But Kojima keeps bringing this up. So I wonder if he knows some kind of, like, they must have said to him, hey, we're looking at remastered Metal Gear Solid 3. To say,
hopefully.
so, like, or do they start at 1 and work it? Like, how, like, man, what's the order you got me make these?
You've got me thinking now. Well, probably 5 would be the most the best idea strategically because it's open world. It's a little more approachable. You have different you have agency as to how you want to attack each mission. Whereas if you just throw the new generation, these Gen Z types into Metal Gear 1 or 2 or 3 for that matter, I don't think it would they would bite as hard.
I don't. Oh man, I don't know. But there's such a love there from all the like past fans like ourselves that I think we can then, almost usher them into this new generation of what Metal Gear could turn out to be, working it from ground zero all the way up. No pun intended there.
I would love to do that and then show somebody Titanfall after.
That's dude,
Here is what gaming can be.
We can do the whole show on this, but hit us up over on Twitter, the official ITG. Let us know your thoughts. Have you played Metal Gear? Are you a fan of Metal Gear? Or are you brand new to the series and go, what the heck are we talking about? So
yeah,
Scott, let's move on.
Don't worry, nobody knows what Metal Gear's about. It's about everything all at once.
Yeah. The Last of Us Season 2 should arrive end of 2024, early 2025, says Bella Ramsey. This is always over at VG 24/7. The first season of HBO's The Last of Us wrapped up just last week, but you shouldn't expect the second season until at least 2024. Scott, it was one of those things I'm like, yo, it's Sunday night. There's no Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us were just kind of going, huh. Now
yeah, I saw the echo. I saw the week-old echo on Twitter. Everybody goes, well, what are you guys doing Sunday night?
That's right. Last week, the live-action adaptation of The Last of Us finished, bringing back all those debates about the game's ending once again, and obviously leaving things a bit uncertain between Joel and Ellie. Of course, anyone that's played the second game knows how things go. I'll just
see, I've been dancing around this myself because I don't know how the first game ends, but I do know how the second game begins.
According to Bella Ramsey, though, we shouldn't expect to see the second season until the end of 2024 at the earliest. Speaking about the show on the Jonathan Ross show via The Independent, Ramsey shared when they believe we should expect to see season 2. It will, quote, "It will be a while. I think we'll probably shoot at the end of the year, beginning of next," end quote, shared Ramsey. Quote, "So it'll probably be the end of 2024, early 2025, end quote." Scott, no big surprise there. We are going to be waiting a while, but I think what they've done, and we've talked about this in the past, is how they're setting us up to kind of continue on with this Last of Us feeling for a while and hopefully lead us into season 2 and then season 3, because they've already come out and stated that because part 2 is so big that it is going to take 2 seasons to actually kind of flush out the whole story.
Oh, and hopefully this queues up for that multiplayer still.
Dude, bring it. Like, just give me the multiplayer already. I need something. I'm starving. Dude, I got my DualSense Edge controller ready to go. So I just,
there's enough time for me to catch up now.
Yes, there is. And get a PS5. Scott, let's get on to the next story. Yeah, that's exciting, man. I like The Last of Us was one of the most incredible stories I think ever brought over from our industry, being video games, and then transitioned onto television, where it's done justice, right? Because we've seen movies try to take over, and it's it was bad. Like, there's a lot of bad video game movies out there.
Oh, did you ever watch the World of Warcraft one?
No, I heard it was horrible.
Oh, it was really bad.
So, yeah,
I've had fans tell me that. I'm confident enough to say that.
Yeah. I haven't heard good things, that's for sure.
They don't work out often. You told me. Did you tell me to watch Assassin's Creed or Hitman or not?
I told you not to watch either one of those. Is what I told you to do.
Oh,
that's what I said. Don't watch those.
I want them to be good.
Yeah. Speaking of not good, those are not good. Don't watch those. But what could be good though, Scott, is Battlefield veteran Lars. Gustafsson.
Gustafsson.
Thank you. Found new studio TTK Games. Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming. Battlefield veteran Lars, aka Mr. Battlefield, has founded a new studio called TT Games. Insider Gaming has learned, according to the company's filings, the new studio located in Stockholm. There's a lot of companies in Stockholm. Was formed in April of 2022 and received its registration in November 2022. The company is registered under, quote, 58210 publishing of computer games, end quote. Doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know about you, Scott, but that doesn't.
No, you do have to. You have to name your company's things, and they're often just a string of numbers.
Yeah. Well, believe me. Yeah, I know. We have a string of numbers, Scott. As for what TT Games entails remains to be seen. But as we know, TTK commonly refers to time to kill. So the studio could be focusing on shooter games. Scott, Would you be surprised if it was a shooter game?
No. I think, well, I'd be less surprised if it were a racing franchise.
Ooh,
Since everybody's playing musical chairs with their genres nowadays.
yeah, that's fair. Or it could just be a clever way, clever play on words of time to kill games. In September 2022, it was announced as part of EA's wider Battlefield announcement that Lars was leaving DICE and EA altogether for something new. Well, this is new. Now, Battlefield's leadership team consists of the former Call of Duty boss Brian Bedide and Respawn Entertainment's Vince Zampella. Scott. So, Battlefield, I think, is in good hands. It's come a long way, as we've noticed over the last little while, Scott. They've had their struggles since launch, but I think they're starting to kind of iron out 2042 a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's come around the bend now. It's not broken, but it's certainly not the best ride Battlefield's ever taken me on.
No, for sure. But if with Lars being around for so long in the Battlefield franchise, you have to think he's still kind of sticking with something familiar, something safe to get the studio established, right? I think that's the biggest thing is that, hey, we're here, we are new, but here's what we're building, and this is why you should be excited for it. We've come from this background of shooters. We're going to keep that mentality going moving forward and bring you something that's pretty exciting. Being in 2022, so just last year, we're still probably another 3-4 years before we actually see anything out of the studio. But
yeah,
either way,
I would expect it to be concept for quite some years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're probably in concept stages right now, funding rounds and all that kind of stuff, and then they'll start building out what they can get and go from there. But dude, let's get into something. This kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know if I should be surprised or not surprised, but a new Lego racing game called Lego 2K Drive. It's claimed. That's a horrible name.
Oh, that is not the best name.
Not at all. I hope that's just a placeholder.
I'm hoping this sits right about where Hot Wheels was. I really liked Hot Wheels.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming has this once again. A new rumor by Xbox era's Chappelle Nick.
Special Nick.
That's right. Yeah, I've heard him a few times actually. Has suggested that a new Lego racing game called Lego 2K Drive is in development. Dude, what a name. Why would they do that? The rumor comes following producer job listings from Visual Concepts that was posted last year that stated the studio was working on an open world driving game with a major license. Scott, we did see Lego make its way over to the Forza Horizon series. So this could be good. Could be good. Is this the next iteration or something new to kind of battle against Mario Kart?
Oh, I don't know if anybody really is tough enough to stand toe and toe with Mario Kart.
No, that's for sure. But
rest in peace, Diddy Kong.
Yeah, that's in Nintendo's own family too.
If he didn't pop back up in Smash Brothers, I would have thought he was defeated forever.
Soon after the job listing was posted, VGC reported that Lego is partnering with 2K to develop a new line of Lego sports games. According to the report, the racing game should release later this year. Although Insider Gaming was unable to verify the name, it's understood that a Lego racing game is currently undergoing playtesting. Playtesting means they're getting close then, Scott.
Yeah, I would expect that. That's really balance changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's play test it, figure out what works, what doesn't work, some bugs here or there, and kind of go about their way. But VGC's report also outlined that Lego does not intend to extend the terms of its exclusivity deal with TT Games. This news was seemingly corroborated by Nintendo Life recently, who reported Lego, Disney, and Guardians of the Galaxy were two projects among several canceled at TT Games. Most notably known, dude, like if there's a Lego game, it's from TT Games. Right? Like they've done them all. So the fact that they're now starting to branch out, they're kind of taking that Disney approach, I think, where Disney is starting to, instead of have in-house studios work on their games, they're starting to branch them out and let them kind of pick and choose what developer they want to work with to then expand their reach. That's why we see Star Wars right now with EA as an example of that. So in Guardians of the Galaxy, it was over at Square Enix.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one for Square, I thought.
Yes, it was. But they were able to land that deal, I think, which is a good thing because, dude, that was a great game. That was a solid game. So that's exciting to see that they're able now to branch out from TT Games. It's unfortunately they've had cancellations over there because I'm sure they're pretty excited too. If you're there playing and designing all these Lego games, you got to be like a kid in a candy store, Scott, with opportunities here.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Have you played any of the Lego games?
I played a lot of them, but they've always been with my kids, right? It's never been something I can't wait to play.
The only thing similar that I remember is Bionicle, and I'm not sure if that counts.
Yeah, it's close.
My favorite Lego of all.
Yeah. Just getting another rumor. Here we go once again. Next Level Games apparently developing F-Zero GX Remaster. This is my Nintendo news. A new rumor is currently doing the rounds this evening, and it involves the beloved F-Zero franchise, which many believed had been shelved, since it has been plenty of years since we have gotten any new entry. Next Level Games, the talented team behind Luigi's Mansion 2 and the Luigi Mansion 3, which is a fantastic game, Scott.
I really want to play 3.
Oh, dude, it's really good. Yeah, I played that with Garrett. It was awesome. Is apparently working harder on a remaster of the classic GameCube F-Zero entry for the Nintendo Switch family of systems. F-Zero GX. Scott, it might come out this year. We don't really quite know. There's rumors that is the possibility. Here's the thing. We've been told we're not going to get an F-Zero game at all. So the fact that this is even in the rumblings right now is kind of a bit of a surprise, isn't it?
I can't remember the former director's name now, but he was interviewed and somebody asked, why not more F-Zero? And the answer at the time was, well, they couldn't figure out a way to iterate on it enough. It was kind of, it had been done. They couldn't make it bigger and better, so they left it in the past. But I had very strong skepticism about that. New Switch, new controllers, there's all kinds of ideas I can come up with in 10 minutes. So I'm happy to see this. And I've really hungered for an F-Zero remake or new sequel, and it's had me kind of explore what else is out there. There's Redout. For anybody curious, Redout is very good, very fast. It's a little bit more like pod racing. Not quite like F-Zero.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's been long overdue, and the fact that Nintendo hasn't done anything with the F-Zero franchise for so long just it's kind of surprising. But I don't know. Nintendo is a unique company. I'll say that they just kind of they always kind of go to their own beat of the drum kind of thing, and it's just whatever they feel like is going to work is going to work. I do appreciate the fact that if I can't think of anything new, why am I going to build a new game for it? So you don't want to just kind of force his hand to say, hey, you're making this, and then you're stuck with trying to figure out what to do. But if you have ideas and then can build off of it, that's more exciting to me as somebody who's creative, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being having your hand forced to do things, you're like, I don't know if I really. Then you lose that creative inspiration.
How did we end up with Metal Gear Survive? Was that a situation where it was kind of forced into existence?
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody was happy about that.
Yeah, and nobody wants that experience again, right? So if we can kind of shy away from that, then hopefully we can get somebody who has the idea and wants to kind of move that franchise forward. Dude, it makes a lot of sense then. If the original creator doesn't want to do it, why don't we talk to somebody else? Maybe they have ideas and what they could do and how they could change things up a little bit. But you don't want to go too far because then it's not just an F-Zero game anymore.
Yeah, it is a delicate balance, but
absolutely,
I have trust Nintendo can pull it through.
Well, it is Nintendo, right? And I think that's the biggest thing behind it all is that you have faith in Nintendo. If you trust them long enough, like we have, you always get some pretty cool stuff out of them. So,
their first party, they usually hit very strong.
Yeah, that's one of the shining, I think, spotlights of Nintendo. The fact that we don't have a new Switch, though, is still mind-blowing, Scott. But yeah, I don't know. What do you do? Either way, we do have something that's kind of, I'm going to say it's kind of out today. What do we have, Scott?
Ghosts of Tabor is on PC Early Access today, and is also headed for the PlayStation 5 and the PSVR 2.
Dude, that's exciting. I saw this. I'm like, I'm going to be jumping in. PSVR 2 is cool. I'm having a great time over there, and definitely looking to get into this game. This is kind of that Escape from Tarkov feel.
Oh, that's something I want. I want in VR.
In VR, I was like, yo, I'm down for this. Let's try this out, and hopefully I'll be in there by the end of the day. Fingers crossed. And I'll let everybody know how that goes. But Scott, just like that, my friend, that'll wrap up ITG Daily. Just like that, we bring you all the hottest and latest news each and every day, Monday to Friday, over on Twitch and YouTube at the official ITG. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later inside the game.ca podcast services and TV streaming networks around the globe. Until tomorrow, everybody, I'm Drew. That's Scott. We'll see you inside the game.